Think about the cost of not forgiving, think about what that means for you. Think about the cost of holding on to anger and what that means for you in your life and the people around you, and really assess if it's worth it. I'm sure there are some cases like where you feel like it's worth it. You would never be able to forgive someone for what they did to you, but really assess that and see what that feels like, and what it would feel like to let go of that anger.
Some experts chase attention, but the smart ones build authority. You're listening to the Authority on Demand podcast, where credibility becomes your competitive advantage. Every week, we're pulling back the curtain on how founders and leaders turn expertise into inbound demand through books that position, media that converse, and strategies that actually move the needle. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, your host and Chief Creative Officer at Authority on Demand. Now, let's turn your authority into leverage. 4 years, 7 months, and 24 days. That's how long the protagonist of today's book counted every single day without her mother. And when she finally gets the call she's been dreading, it changes everything. I'm Danielle, and this is Authors on Mission podcast. We're going to be interviewing successful authors, dissect their strategies, steal their secrets, and learn how they turn worlds on a page into movements that matter. Today's guest is Kern Carter, whose latest novel with Penguin Random House, And Then There Was Us, is a masterclass in writing what hurts. It's family trauma, creative ambition, and whether we can truly forgive the people who are supposed to protect us. But more than that, it's a story about a young woman building a fashion empire while her world crumbles. Because the only way through grief is to create something beautiful. So we're going to be talking with Kern today. It's going to be a very inspiring conversation. And let's find out exactly how he made that childhood dream inevitable. Without further ado, Kern, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Hey, real quick before we jump back in, if you're loving what we're doing here, hit that subscribe button and drop us a like. We're bringing you the best authors, the most real conversations, and all the writing wisdom that you didn't know you needed. So stick around because it only gets better from here. All right, now let's get back to the conversation.
Awesome. Yeah, me too. I think you have a very powerful story here. Like I just said, it's great that you're able to turn experiences like that into movements that matter, that influence others and help them get through their own experiences as well. So before we talk about the books, then I think it's important that we talk about you. I mean, you wanted to be an author since you were 8 years old. What made you realize it was your calling? I guess that's my first
It's
question.
you know it's interesting, and it's always so difficult to answer that question because I don't remember too much of a time where I didn't want to be a writer. I think the influences though were, first of all, I was born in Trinidad. I came to Canada when I was like 6, so super young. But even in Trinidad, I was like a huge reader. So my aunt would, like invest in books for me. She walked me to school every day. I was very fortunate to go to an independent school in Trinidad. So like I did have a quality of education that not everybody else had. I was reading magazines at 3, so like I was already kind of in that mode. And then when I came to Canada, I got lucky again in that the elementary school I started at, we went to the library every single month, like regularly. And we got to take out as many books as we wanted. We got to watch movies. So I was just inundated with books and reading and literature. And when I was 8, I wrote my first book, not novel. I wrote my first book, and it was on from there, So and if I had to point to a spark, I read a book called The Orphan Boy. It was a children's book. And when I read it, it was pretty much like a fantastical story. And it just like sparked my imagination. And it was the first time I said, okay, I don't want to just read these books. I want to write these books.
Of course. So it's amazing that you were so inspired by all of this and that you took, those past experiences and those past books that you loved so much and turned it into something else. So that's wonderful. I think it's great that when authors like learn from other people, they're able to pick the things that work and what don't and move forward in their own writing. So I love that. And before we talk about the book, you actually have a lot of other endeavors too. You're the co-creator of Cry Creative. Tell us a little bit about that and how does that help your writing career?
Yeah, no, I'm so happy you brought that up. I think for me, Cry started off actually as a blog. So I used to blog a lot before I was published. Even before I published self-published my first book, I was blogging, and I was just like venting. So it's like 2015, 2016. I'm just venting, just like stressed out with writing and everything like that. And I turned that venting into something else because people are really connecting with me, talking about all these emotional stresses and joys and frustrations I was going through as an author and as a writer and as an emerging author. And so after I finished, I felt like I was done venting. I was like, well, maybe I should ask other people if they have experiences that are similar to mine. So I flipped it and turned it into a magazine and started accepting submissions. And that became the first um, community that I built. And even today, if you connect with my readers and ask my readers where, at least at the beginning of this phase of my life, if you ask them, hey, where do you know Kern from? Most of them would say, I know him from Cry Magazine. Like that's how they know me. So for me, even though I was so narrow-minded, meaning I was narrowly focused on being an author, and I made decisions very strategically to do that, I never lost sight of the fact that like writing is an art form that has like so many different expressions, and blogging was one of them that I do through Cry Creative. I've right now I actually write courses. I wrote 2 courses for college students. I've created platforms for emerging writers. I ghostwrite. I use writing like in as many ways as I can to touch people and to help other writers. So it's been, and inadvertently, it's really helped build a community for me of people who just really trust me and really just are into the messaging that I put out.
Understood. So that's it's beautiful that you have such a strong community to work off of. I think that's a lot of people don't understand that writing can be a community-based endeavor. People think it's solitary, but when you have a team by your side, that definitely is or just a fan base or support system. It seems to have really helped you. Um,
Absolutely.
so yeah, maybe that was a good time to transition into, and then there was us, which I guess came from all that support that you had through your Cry Creative. I would assume at least, some do you bounce ideas back and forth between the community there by any chance, or was it entirely separate? Was it at all involved? I guess
I
question.
I would say that they supported me more so through just like acknowledging the fact that I'm an author and I write books. You know,
Okay.
it's really difficult to break through in this industry. So to have people who are actually interested in reading the things that you write is like it's a privilege, it feels like, almost, to be honest.
Understood. Yeah, so when you have that like motivation behind you and that support, it definitely just propels like, the creativity, I would assume. And here you are now with, and then there was us. So it opens with Koi. Am I saying the right name correctly? Koi.
Yeah, you're saying it right.
Counting the exact days since the last saw our mother, which is exactly how I started this opening. So tell me a little bit about that. Why was it so specific about this time in the story?
I wanted to find a way to show many things in a very like in one sentence. So I wanted one kind of opening to do a very heavy lift. And first of all, I wanted to show the fact that Koi and her mother have been separated. So that was important. I want to show how long they've been separated for. That was important. But what was underlining all of that is I want to show that Koi, even though you're about to go, because this happens at the very beginning, like you said, right? So even though the reader's about to go on this whole journey where Koi is so angry at her mother and so unforgiving of her mother, I wanted to show that despite that, the fact that she's counting days means that she still has some feeling for her mother. There's still something there that she's holding on to if she's remembering every single day that she's been away from this person, right? So I also want to show that. Like it was almost like me throwing in an allusion to how the story would go very, very early on. And like I said, I want to just, how do I start this book? How do I start this story, this novel, in a way that is interesting, curious, but also sets the stage for the rest of the story?
Awesome. I agree with you. I think you've made a great choice with that. And it's also just very interesting because people are wondering, okay, what are these numbers? What do they mean? It kind of like leads them in and gets them curious to learn more. So yeah, I mean, let's chat a little bit more about it then. I mean, there's a lot of lucid dreams, for example, where she confronts her mother, and it's a very unique narrative device. So why dreams? Is that something that came from your own experiences as well, or just kind of a creative device? So tell us a little bit
Yeah, I wish it came from my own experiences. I've been trying to
about
lucid dream for so long, and I can't do it.
yeah, here to each other.
I no, it was just a creative device. I needed an out. Let me start from this. I actually really needed a way for the abuse to feel a little bit lighter. You know, I needed a way for for all the trauma that this book has to not feel so heavy. And I realized that fairly early on that if I spun the all the hurtful parts of this, or the most of the hurtful parts of this story, into dreams, into where Koi is actually just relating these stories to her mother, to her mother who's passed away, then it in some way dulls a little bit of the pain because you're thinking about the device that's happening, you're thinking about the dream that's happening as a reader. So that was one part. The other part is like I wanted the story to feel, I actually wanted the entire story to feel like a dream. When I first handed this into my editor, I had like 12 dream sequences. I had so many more dream sequences. I think there are only like four now in the final draft. But I wanted the whole story to just kind of feel like this full immersive lucid dream. And what 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 the dreaming also accomplishes, even though like I said, there aren't 12 dream sequences, what it does accomplish though is it gives it gives Koi a way for her to actually confront her mother. You know what I'm saying? Like, and she wouldn't have had that opportunity if her mother obviously was still alive, but she wouldn't have had that opportunity regardless because she hadn't spoken to her mother in 4,000, however many days. So you would
Right.
expect that she wouldn't. So for me, it was just like, again, how do I make these devices like really feel functional to the story, but also feel like super just like an experience. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I was going for.
Yeah, yeah, and it's obviously just another way for the readers too to just get immersed in her world and her mindset too, and she's there in these dreams. I feel like it's another way to kind of get involved in what she's really feeling. So all of those combined really just add to the
Exactly.
meaning behind it.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, I mean, another big point, of course, is the necklace that she holds on to. It holds a lot of weight throughout the novel. So tell us about that too. I mean, does it represent something beyond just a physical object?
Yeah, like so the, the story's so deep. Like I this is one of my favorite books I've written. The story's so deep and has so many layers. And I wanted the way that I write novels in general is that I like to tell a surface story that readers can just follow and feel entertained by, right? You could just read the plot and you could get through it and you could feel like you understand it. But really I also write vertically so that you could dig deep into different layers of the story. And that necklace is a layer not just of Koi holding on to a childhood memory, but the necklace also represents um like generations of I don't want to say abuse, but generations of toxic family behavior, if I had to like name it, like it does because it's passed down, right? That necklace is passed down. So I wanted it to represent like just generations of behavior because Koi's grandmother had to do what she had to do in order to raise her mother, and Koi's mother felt like she had to do what she had to do in order to raise Koi, but that's learned behavior, right? Like the abuse that Koi suffered that's learned behavior. So I wanted that necklace to represent that learned behavior that could feel that is wrapped in beauty because it's supposed to be it's a jewel, right? It's a jewelry, a piece of jewelry, but it's even though it's wrapped in beauty, it's actually toxic. You know what I'm saying? It's something that's actually painful and it hurts. So that's supposed to represent the love Koi feels that she was missing. It's something that is supposed to be beautiful, but it's actually toxic. So the necklace does have like so many meanings, and yeah, like that's just a few that I could think of right now.
Understood. So it's clear that this book itself just has like all those meanings and messages for readers to hold on to and carry with them. So what's like the main message that you hope people take away from it? For example, like if you're a reader opening it up, what's your main goal that you'd like them to carry on with them
Mm,
afterwards?
that's a really good question. I think I would want a reader to think about what the cost of forgiveness is, and then what the cost of not forgiving is, and
Okay.
really think about that. Koi carries anger with her throughout pretty much the entire novel. Like she's angry, and the way I actually write my novels is I need to start with an emotion. I need to know what emotion my main character is going to be dealing with the entire story. And for when I was writing Koi, I knew instantly it was anger. So Koi is angry the entire novel. Um, so for me, as she's dealing with that anger and she makes decisions based on anger, the cost is actually self-inflicting. a lot of the times. You know, it disrupts her life, it disrupts her friendships, it disrupts her relationship with her father, disrupts her relationship with her grandparents or grandmother, I should say. So even her sister to some extent. So what what I would really love readers to take away from this novel is just like think about the cost of not forgiving, you know, think about what that means for you. Think about the cost of holding on to anger and what that means for you in your life and the people around you. And really assess if it's worth it, you know. I'm sure there are some cases like where you feel like it's worth it. You would never be able to forgive someone for what they did to you, but really assess that and see what that feels like and what it would feel like to let go of that anger.
Understood. Yeah, I mean that's such a powerful message and something that people might even recognize that they're going through. So it's important to really hold on to that and not hold on to it, but recognize it and move forward from it. The same way I'm assuming our characters throughout the book. Um,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And just like also quickly, Koi, you made a really good point. Koi doesn't even necessarily know that she's going through
right, right.
this whole like emotional um journey towards forgiveness. She doesn't like I love that you said it like that. It's not very conscious to her at first. You know, like she's just in hurt and in anger. She doesn't feel like she's moving towards something. And I think awareness becomes the first step. And I think the part in the book where Koi first becomes aware is when she first reconnects with her sister, her younger sister on her mom's side, who she also hasn't seen in the same amount of time. That helps her understand, like, okay, there's something greater here. There's something more here. Um, yeah. So yeah, that's a really good point. You don't always recognize it, but you need to be aware before you can make any strategic steps anyway, any intentional steps.
Of course, of course. And it actually is funny because it kind of relates to one line that I wrote down in the book when I was looking through it. It's the line that where Koi says, "Nothing's ever going to stop me from living." So, after everything she's
Mm,
been through, the abuse, abandonment, grief, and, she doesn't really quite understand what she's feeling, but then she gets through that, right? And she like makes that declaration. So I think that's what makes your work so powerful. Your characters go through these difficulties, but they build something beautiful despite it. So I think
yeah.
it's great that you're able to combine all of that together. But also, this isn't your only book. So to our listeners, of course, go check out, this book and learn more about it, get immersed in the world. We can all learn from it. But Kern, you tell us a bit more about your other endeavors. You have so many other titles out there, don't you?
Yes, yes, yes. Again, just very fortunate that I've been able to live this life and reach this point where I get to write books, you know. So I have two self-published books that I started off with. So 2014, 2017, I self-published my first two novels, learned everything I could possibly learn on my own about what the publishing industry what the publishing industry is, how I could fit in it, how my books fit in it, how to market books, how to build readership, all of that. Like I learned so much doing that on my own. And then getting published in about 2020 or so, 2021. Um, just like understanding the difference between wow, self-publishing and getting into the industry. But I have two self-published novels. I have my first published novel is called Boys and Girls Screaming, which I absolutely adore. Like I love that book so much. And then There Was Us is the book we're speaking about today. And I actually have a novel with Scholastic called Is There a Boy Like Me? Which has been like nominated for so many Canadian awards that I feel almost embarrassed by how many awards this thing has been nominated for. But I also feel again just very fortunate. I really did, Danielle, like stick to the thing that I am most proud of myself for is that I stuck to my plan. Like that 8-year-old boy at any point could have diverted to do anything else, right? Like you know how life goes. Like it weighs on you and it pushes you in directions you may not necessarily want to go, but the thing that I do give myself credit for is that I stuck to it. I stuck to my dream of being an author. I turned it into a mission, and now that mission feels like it's much more closer to complete than when I was 8 years old. So yeah, just like and more to come. I have two more books coming out next year. I have a book
Oh,
with
wow.
Penguin coming out next year. I have another book with Scholastic, I think, coming out fall next year. I'm going, and I have another one coming out spring 2027. I'm about to sign a contract for
Wow.
that. Like I am, this is for me, this is life. Like this is exactly what I want to do. This is exactly where I want it to be. And now the next goal is just like, how do I get to the top of the pole now, right? How do I get to the top of the mountain and be the best possible author I can be and really take this to another level.
Wow. No, that's incredible. I mean, congratulations to not only publishing with one major publishing house, but multiple. That's very impressive, and I think all the audience members today can certainly admire and learn from that. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
um, yeah. So tell us like really quickly about these other books, like to be on the lookout for that are coming out
Uh,
this next year.
yeah, so one is coming out spring of 2026. We're still working on a title, but it's actually a story about PTSD. And I'll tell you just the quick summary is just of a boy, a young boy who sees his father gets murdered in front of him, and what that does to his life and what that does to his friendships and his family and stuff like that. So that story is written in I love anyways, I could go on. Then the other story that's coming out in fall of next year, fall of 2026, is the follow-up to my first Scholastic book. So Is There a Boy Like Me is the book I wrote for Scholastic. That book did really well, so we're doing a follow-up. Again, still don't know the title for that one yet, but we're working on it. So that's happening. And then the 2027 book, we're just working on that deal right now. It's not even, I didn't even sign the contract yet. They just made me an offer like last week.
Oh
So
well.
yeah, my agent's negotiating it. So we should know within the next like couple of weeks what that's going to be. But that's a spring 27 book. And that one will be my first nonfiction book. I'll put that out there. It's my first kind of foray into nonfiction. So I'm really excited about that and to see the kind of impact that it has.
That's just insane. I'm very happy for you. I mean, going for somebody, everybody wants to be an author. Everybody listening today probably wants to be an author when they were a kid, right? It was their dream, but you made it happen. And not just like, not to discredit, but anyone can self-publish these days. Not everybody
Mhm.
can get into those big houses. So, awesome stuff. I'm wondering as we begin to wrap up today, then, if you happen to have any tips for the people listening, how did you get where you are? What might they be able to follow to reach that achievement?
Yeah, no, good thoughts. For me, I would say two things that I think are still true today as they were when I was kind of breaking through. Study the craft, first of all. Like it's really important that you are excellent at writing. I think especially today where there are so many books that are released, there are so many authors, there are so many platforms. So you're not just competing with like me at Penguin, you're competing with people who are self-publishing. We're on the same platform, so you have to be excellent. And I think being excellent is important, and you can't be excellent unless you study the craft. So I would always say that study the craft. The other thing is um if you care about selling books, so if writing for you is more than just something that is therapeutic or personal, which I mean that's totally valid. So like I'm that's there's no disparagement with that at all. But if you are someone who wants to sell books, I would also tell you to study the industry, understand what publishing needs, and then where you fit and your novels fit within publishing. That that will help that will help you in so many ways that I don't even have enough time to explain on this call. Really take your time to study the industry, because even even knowing the fact that like paper is a struggle to get right now, or even knowing the fact that romantasy has been going great, but it had a little bit of a decline this year. Like knowing those things is really important. And again, like you think that it doesn't matter because you're just kind of on an island writing, but it does matter, because if you want to sell books, you need to understand which way the industry is blowing, which direction it's going, what's more popular, what's less popular, so you can understand what kind of battle you're fighting. So I think it's really important, sorry, that you do those two things absolutely for sure. And then the last thing I'll throw in is just also it again, this is very specifically for if selling books is important to you, find out where your audience is at. Find out who would be most interested in the books that you are reading. That if again if you care about selling books, find where your audience is so you can speak to that audience very specifically when your book is out, because there is absolutely zero way, minus luck, minus just pure luck, there's zero way that you are going to be able to stand out in a market that last year released 4 million books, and that's just published books. So you just, there's no way to stand out unless you understand marketing, and to understand marketing you have to understand your audience. And I would say those three things, yes.
Okay, well, thank you for running us through that. And you're right, you gotta have to have that bigger picture idea beyond just writing and hoping people find the book. You have to understand what people are looking for and the systems behind everything. So it's great that you were able to do so. And I'm assuming if people wanted to learn more about that, they can probably head to your sites where you have your blogs and your information there, and they can learn more. Is that right?
Absolutely, go to kerncarter.com. That everything's there for you. And I'm also just like Kern Carter. If you Google me, you'll see all my books and all
Okay.
my stuff, so that's
Perfect.
easy.
Okay, well, guys, we're going to put the links in the description box of this podcast today so you can click on over and learn a little bit more. And in the meantime, Karen, this has been a really inspiring conversation. I appreciate you, like, shining a light on everything you've been able to do. I think it's going to spark movement in other people, making them want to do the same thing. Don't just sit around and write your book, but start your book and think about how it can be best marketed and get it out there and best read and what movements you can create from it, especially on
Absolutely.
and in the word. Yeah. So,
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Also, I love the title of your podcast, Authors on like mission, the mission part of it. Love it. Love
thank you.
it.
Yeah, I mean, we're also a, publishing company. We're like a hybrid publisher. So we do, that's
Oh,
Authors on Mission is our brand, and this is a podcast from it to kind of help people, get where they need to be in the writing world. But I appreciate you because you're right. I mean, it is a mission to get people's voices heard and their messages across. So thanks for that.
yeah, no problem.
So yeah, and remember to all of our audience members, you're not just writing books, you're building legacies, you're creating conversations, you're giving readers permission to feel their feelings and heal their wounds. So it's not just a career. I mean, as Kern showed us, it's a calling. So
Yes.
until next time, everybody, keep writing, keep learning, and keep putting your mission into the world. We'll see you next time on the Authors on Mission podcast.
That's a wrap on another episode of the Authority on Demand podcast. If today's conversation sparked something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with a founder or leader who's ready to stop being the best kept secret in their industry. If you want to turn your expertise into inbound demand, head to authorityondemand.com to see how we help clients go from unknown to in demand. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, and I'll catch you on the next one. Now, go build some authority.